Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have signed some undrafted free agents. This is per multiple sources and whatnot, right? Like Peter Report's been on this. I'm sure Greg Auman has been on this. National reporters have been on this. The tracker that we're going to be looking at today is per Dustin Lewis of SportsIllustrated.com. This was up to date 4 hours ago. So if there are any other signings, I will probably be talking about those in a separate video. But I also have the full list compiled here on a document. Judge Culpepper is, one guy coming in out of Toledo. He's the son of Brad Culpepper. You have Tyrek Funderburk coming in out of Appalachian State, defensive back. Defensive back Marcus Banks out of Mississippi State. Quarterback Zack Annexstad out of Illinois State. Linebacker Antonio Grier out of Arkansas and USF, so a local guy in there as well. Offensive tackle Nolan out of Northern Illinois. Center Avery Jones out of Auburn and East Carolina. Edge defender Daniel Grzesiak out of Cincinnati. You have offensive guard Xavier Delgado out of Missouri. You have safety Rashad Wisdom out of UTSA, and you have linebacker Kalen Deloach out of FSU. Let's go to the tracker real quick, because one thing I love that Dustin Lewis did here, absolute goated move for that, is he put a lot of the stats of what these guys have done in the past as well. So you take a quick look here, coming out of Florida State. We're going to start with Kalen Deloach, by the way, one of the more local guys here, coming out of Florida State, hometown Savannah, Georgia. 5'10", 210 pounds, 212 tackles, 24.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovered, and 11 passes defended, and 1 defensive touchdown. So there you go. 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. So there you go. He ran a 4.47 40-yard dash at the combine or pro day, a 30.5-inch vertical jump, 9'11" broad jump in there as well. Antonio Grier, linebacker out of Arkansas and USF. He is also semi-local, coming in from Atlanta, Georgia, not too far from Florida. 6'1", 230 pounds, 267 tackles, 23.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, 4 passes defended, and 2 defensive touchdowns. A 4.63 40-yard dash, 4.39 20-yard shuttle, 7.44 3-cone drill, 36.5-inch vertical jump, 9-foot 10-inch broad jump, and 22 reps on the bench press as well. I believe these are the 2 linebackers, if I am not mistaken. Yes, Antonio Grier and Kalen Deloach. So real quick with both these guys, the Bucs didn't draft an inside linebacker, which I know may surprise some people, but they do get 2 guys who have been at Florida schools. In the case of Antonio Grier, he was at USF for a few years before transferring over to Arkansas in his last year. In the case of Kalen Deloach, he's a guy who was at FSU his entire year. And both these guys are going to be competing for some type of role, with a guy like J.J. Russell at the back of that linebacking core. I think that, of course, with a 4.47 40-yard dash, you like what Deloach brings in as an athletic linebacker, and with Antonio Grier, 22 reps on the bench press, you like what he brings in terms of overall strength. So, going to be interesting to watch these 2 guys compete. I do like that they were both local guys in the case of Grier at USF, in the case of Deloach at Florida State. Nathan Potter's the next guy we're talking about at Northern Illinois. His hometown is Cedar Rapids. There you go. 6'6", 306 pounds, 53 appearances, and 43 starts in his career. 4.7 40-yard dash, which is pretty good for an offensive lineman. 4.14 20-yard shuttle, 7.02 3-cone drill, 32.5-inch vertical jump, and a 10-foot 6-inch broad jump. Hey man, it's more depth along the offensive line. It looks like he was a team captain at Northern Illinois, which is where he had went to school. So I'm going to give that guy props. It's always good to get some former team captains in here and just seeing what they could do. So shout out Nolan Potter. He's going to be competing at backup tackle. You have Daniel Grzesiak coming in at defensive end or edge rusher. Now, he went to college at Cincinnati, Utah State, and Nevada. Not in that order. It was Nevada, then Utah State, then Cincinnati, where he had finally ended up. From Los Angeles, 6'1", 245 pounds, 138 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, pretty impressive, 19.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles recovered, 5 passes defended, a 4.58 40-yard dash, 35.5-inch vertical jump, 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. He's going to be competing as a backup defensive, or a backup outside edge rushing linebacker with some of the guys that may be in that mix, like Jose Ramirez, among some other guys in that group. But that is a very, crowded room right now, right? You do have JTS. You did bring in Chris Braswell out of Alabama. You do have Anthony Nelson. You do have Randy Gregory. You do have Yaya Diaby as 5 guys there. So it's a pretty crowded room, but I wish nothing but Daniel Grzesiak the best here out of Cincinnati. Rashad Wisdom out of UTSA coming in. He is 5'9", 210 pounds, 314 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles recovered, 5 interceptions, and 15 passes defended, 4.49 40-yard dash, 6.89 3-cone drill, and a 37-inch vertical jump flat. And it's interesting, the Bucs have liked undrafted free agent safeties in the past. I think of Kayvon Merriweather as one example. Nolan Turner at one point made the Bucs final roster, so maybe keep an eye on Rashad Wisdom. They did bring in Tyke Smith as well from Georgia, who is going to be figuring to be a nickel corner. It seems like he is more built like a safety overall, but we'll see with Rashad Wisdom. Great name, though. Great name with Rashad Wisdom coming out of UTSA. And we will see what happens with him. He's going to be competing for a safety role. You then have Tyrek Funderburk, which might be the best name in the entirety of any Bucs player that they have so far. He went to Appalachian State and Richmond. He transferred from Richmond to Appalachian State. 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, 123 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 0.5 sacks, 11 interceptions, 2 defensive touchdowns. 4.39 40-yard dash, very fast player. 7.03 cone drill, 34.5-inch vertical jump, 10-foot 3-inch broad jump, and 14 reps on the bench press. He's going to be a guy who's going to be competing for maybe outside or inside corner. I'm going to assume not inside corner, considering, or maybe he will be competing for inside corner. He does have the size more of an inside corner at 6 feet tall, 185 pounds. They do have Tyke Smith there, who they just drafted out of Georgia, as I said. You did bring in Xavier Thomas as a free agent, and you also have Christian Izzian returning from starting just about every single game as a nickel corner last year. So it is going to be some tight competition, but great name, Tyrek Funderburk. Fantastic. Can't go wrong with that. You then have Marcus Banks, safety, coming in out of Mississippi State, formerly from Alabama as well. 6 feet tall, 190 pounds. Coming in at 73 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovered, 5 passes defended, 1 defensive touchdown, 4.45 40-yard dash, 4.2 20-yard shuttle, 6.93 cone drill, 36.5-inch vertical jump, a 12-foot 5-inch broad jump, and 17 reps on the bench press. Great strength here from the 6-foot 190-pound safety, by the way, coming in out of Mississippi State, formerly of Alabama as well. He's another guy that Saban was interested in, and may be a guy who would be competing in a few different positions, be it safety, be it outside corner, with guys like Tyrek Funderburk and Rashad Wisdom in that mix as well. So going to be very interesting competition there at the back end of the secondary, with some of these undrafted guys making, their way over to Tampa Bay. We'll have to pay attention. The next name is DJ Williams. See, look at that. I did forget a name on here. Shout out. DJ Williams, running back out of Arizona, Florida State, and Auburn from Lake Placid, Florida. Shout out. 5'10", 225, big dog running back, 227 carries, 1,394 total yards, and 14 touchdowns in his career. 4.59 40-yard dash, 4.59 20-yard shuttle, 7.49 3-cone drill, 30.5-inch vertical jump, 9-foot 1-inch broad jump, and 16 reps on the bench press. Is this the power back that the Bucs have been looking for? Big dog at 225 pounds. He's going to be competing with Sean Tucker in the back half of that running back room. They did draft Bucky Irving out of Oregon to add to Chase Edmonds and Rachaad White. Of course, that's going to be 3 guys that I think you can very well expect to make the Bucs roster. So I think you're going to be wanting to pay attention to DJ Williams versus Sean Tucker in that running back room. Another guy we didn't get a chance to add to my list, Chris McDonald, cornerback out of Toledo, hometown Miami, Florida, 5'10", 192 pounds, 141 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 32 passes defended. My goodness, that's a lot. 5 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns. He's coming in at a 4.46 40-yard dash, 4.41 20-yard shuttle, 7.203 cone drill, 32.5-inch vertical jump, 9-foot 7-inch broad jump, 17 reps on the bench press. Very good for a cornerback, by the way, with 17 reps on that bench press. Hey, you love a guy who started a lot of games for Toledo. Hometown guy again, home state guy, let's say, from Miami, Florida. As I said, competing for a backup role in that secondary. Some good numbers, both as a career statistics and combine and pro numbers as well. Definitely pay attention. Definitely pay attention to Chris McDonald. Seems like he put up some good numbers there at Toledo. Now, this has got an interesting name here. Judge Culpepper, as I wrote in my notes, son of former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Brad Culpepper. So you love to see that. Brad Culpepper was with the Bucs for a good amount of time, former Florida Gator, former guy from Tallahassee, Florida as well, was with the Vikings for a few years, was with the Bucs from 1994 to 1999, didn't win the Super Bowl with the Bucs, unfortunately, but I remember Warren Sapp was a big fan of Brad Culpepper. Warren Sapp was a big fan of Brad Culpepper back in the day, and while he was with the Bucs, he had 33 total sacks in his career, which is not too shabby. He finished his final 3 years in Tampa Bay with 8.5 sacks in 97, 9 sacks in 98, and 6 sacks in 99. Not bad from the dad, but Judge Culpepper is the player here, coming in from Penn State. Well, Toledo was where he ended up. Penn State, so another player from Toledo joining Chris McDonald there. Again, hey, from Tampa, Florida. Can't go wrong with that. 6'4", 293 pounds, 132 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, 13.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovered, and 2 passes defended. 5.15 40-yard dash, 4.56 20-yard shuttle, 7.43 3-cone drill, 30-inch vertical jump, 28 reps on the bench press. Big reps here on that bench press. Hopefully he's playing a little bit like his daddy. He actually did get a tackle on CJ Stroud at one point in 2022. So shout out to him for that. And, we'll see how he goes. He's going to be competing for the backup defensive line role. I always do like it whenever the Bucs do bring in former players. This isn't the first time they've done it. They brought in Vinny Testaverde's son in the past, as well as some other former Bucs players' sons in the past. So Judge Culpepper is the next guy in that line, which I think is pretty cool. You have a quarterback coming in, Zack Annexstad, out of Illinois State, formerly of Minnesota. He's from Minnesota. 6'2", 220 pounds. His career stats, 3,547 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 247 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. This is a guy, at least in terms of the overall size, is going to be a fit for a Liam Cohen type of offense. We'll see if he catches on. I'm going to be completely honest. The Buccaneers quarterback room's pretty set in stone, right? You have your starter in Baker Mayfield. You have your backup in Kyle Trask. You have your third quarterback in John Wolford. Who might even be battling for that backup job. Zack Annexstad, he's going to be a guy who's going to be throwing passes at rookie minicamp, throwing passes at OTAs and whatnot, throwing passes maybe at training camp as well. If he gets through that process, could be a developmental guy for a practice squad, but, it's going to be tough for him to crack that roster. But, the Bucs, and really all teams like having a fourth quarterback. Seems like Zack Annexstad is that fourth quarterback. You never know who can make an impact. I'm going to be rooting for Zack here. Cool last name as well with Annexstad. I think that's fun. You have Xavier Delgado here, offensive lineman coming in out of Missouri. 6'4", 329 pounds. Big man. 57 appearances and 41 starts. I believe most of that was at guard. 5.2 40-yard dash in there as well. The Bucs also, much like quarterback, they've really retooled and loaded up on their guard position. You have Sua Opeta. You've got Ben Bredesen, who you brought in. Graham Barton's there at center now. Robert Hainsey might be competing at left guard also. We'll see. Oh, and then you drafted Klein out of UTEP. So Xavier Delgado is going to have an uphill battle, but could be a developmental offensive lineman. We will see. You've got Avery Jones, offensive lineman, coming in out of Auburn, formerly of East Carolina. Havelock, North Carolina is where he is from. 6'4", 307 pounds. No pro day or no career stats as well, so he will be competing at backup OT. Pretty decent size at 6'4", 307 pounds, a big backup tackle. Wish him nothing but the best as well. We do have some tryout contracts as well to come in. You have Daymond Williams, defensive tackle, coming in out of Buffalo. 6'3", 285 pounds, 101 tackles, 26 tackles for loss, 12 sacks, 2 fumbles recovered, 1 interception, and 8 passes defended. 5.18 40-yard dash, 4.82 20-yard shuttle, 8.03 cone drill, 27.5-inch vertical jump, 8'4" broad jump, which is wild, and 23 reps on the bench press. You have Zack Mathis, wide receiver out of North Dakota State, hometown's Tampa, Florida. 6'6", 220 pounds, big wide receiver, 1,392 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns, 4.63 40-yard dash, 4.51 20-yard shuttle, 7.143 cone drill, 36.5-inch vertical jump, 9'11" broad jump, 23 reps on the bench press. Finally, you have John Dietl out of Shorter, which I've never heard that college, but another hometown kid from Tampa, Florida, 6'6", 250 pounds, 977 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns in his college career. 4.86 40-yard dash, 4.59 20-yard shuttle, 7.713 cone drill, 31.5-inch vertical jump, 9'3" broad jump, and 12 reps on the bench press as well. Wish nothing but the best for all of these guys. I'm going to be interested in all of them, right? But Zach Annexstad at quarterback coming in out of Illinois State. That should be fun. Judge Culpepper, son of Brad Culpepper, coming in out of Toledo or Penn State. Chris McDonald, cornerback out of Toledo. DJ Williams, big dog out of Arizona, another hometown kid, 5'10", 225 pounds. Marcus Banks is going to be interesting from Mississippi State. Tyrek Funderburk coming in out of App State as well. Rashad Wisdom, safety out of UTSA. There's a lot of interesting names here, folks. A lot of interesting names. Of course, shout out to Kalen Deloach, linebacker out of Florida State, and Antonio Grier, linebacker out of Arkansas as well. So, should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, you guys are excited for these undrafted free agents. Wish nothing but the best for these guys. And if there are any other updates, we'll be talking about those in some separate videos as well. But guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. As always, folks, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.